I have the model and I've been playing with it a little bit. How is it different, Sam? I'm not an expert at this, so yeah.
There's all these ways we can talk about, it's better at this metric, or it's, can do this amazing coding demo that the GPT-4 couldn't. But the thing that has been most striking for me is in ways that are both big and small, going back from GPT-5 to our previous generation model is just so painful. It's just like worse at everything. And I've taken for granted that there's a fluency and a depth of intelligence with GPT-5 that we haven't had in any previous model. It's an integrated model, so you don't have to like pick in our model switcher and know if you should use GPT-4o or O3 or O4 mini or any of the complicated things. It's just one thing that works. And it is like having PhD level experts in every field available to you 24/7 for whatever you need, not only to ask anything, but also to do anything for you. So if you need a piece of software created, it can kind of do it from scratch all at once. If you need a research report on some complicated topic, it can do that for you. If you needed to, plan an event for you, it could do that too.
Is it more agentic in nature in the sense that sequential tasking, you're one step closer to it? Because I was trying that out.
It's much better at things like that. The sort of the robustness and reliability has greatly increased, and that's very helpful for agentic workflows. So I'm like very impressed by how long and complex of a task it can carry out.
So we did a call a couple of weeks ago when I was bugging you about what sectors and themes to invest in for the next decade. So I don't want to talk about that too much. I thought we'll keep today about first principles and how the world is changing by virtue of all that is changing in the world that you dominate. So the very first thing I want to start with is if I were a 25-year-old boy or girl living in Mumbai or Bangalore in India, I know you've said a bunch of times that colleges are not holding on to the place of relevance they might have had when I was growing up. But what do I do now? A, what do I study? If I'm starting a company, what kind of company do I start? Or if I were to even find a job, what industry do you think has some kind of tailwind? I'm not talking 10 years down the line, but even as close as 3 to 5 years down the line.
First of all, I think this is probably the most exciting time to be starting out one's career, maybe ever. I think like that 25-year-old in Mumbai can probably do more than any previous 25-year-old in history could. It's really amazing what you can do with a tool like this. I felt the same way when I was 25, and the tools then were not as amazing as tools we have now, but we had the computer revolution, and we could do things. A 25-year-old then could do things that no 25-year-old in history before would have been able to. And now that's happening in a huge way. So whether you want to start a company or be a programmer or go work in kind of any other industry, create new media, whatever it is, the ability for one person to use these tools and have great ideas and implement them with what would have taken, decades of experience or teams of people is really quite remarkable. In terms of particular industries, I am very excited about what AI is going to mean for science and the amount of science that one person will be able to discover and the rate at which they can do that. Clearly, it's transforming what it means to program computers in a huge way, and people will be able to create completely new kinds of software and at huge new scale. Definitely for startups, if you have an idea for a new business, the ability for a very tiny team to do a huge amount of work is great. But it feels like this is just now a very open canvas. People are limited to a degree that they've never been before only by the quality and creativity of their ideas. And you have these incredible tools to help you realize them.
Is there anything in particular you want to say about GPT-5? Then I can ask you questions around that.
GPT-5 does feel to us like it's going to be another big step forward in how people use these systems. The level of capability, the level of robustness, the reliability, and the ability to use this just for a lot of tasks in life to create software, to answer questions, to learn, to work more efficiently. Like this is a pretty significant step forward. Each time we've had one of these, we have been amazed by the human potential it unlocks. And in particular, India is now our second largest market in the world. It may become our largest. We've taken a lot of feedback from users in India about what they'd like from us: better support for languages, more affordable access, much more. And we've been able to put that into this model and upgrades to ChatGPT. So we're committed to continuing to work on that. But every time we've had a major leap forward in how the capability we can bring to users, we've been amazed by what those 25-year-olds go off and do in terms of creating new companies or, learning better, getting better medical advice or whatever else.
Is there anything that I could build on top of GPT-5 today as a 25-year-old in India that you think are low-hanging fruits per se that I should definitely look at?
I think you could build an entire startup way more efficiently than you ever could before. Now, this is obviously, I'm biased because this is like near and dear to my heart. But the fact that as a 25-year-old in India or anywhere else, maybe with a couple of friends, maybe just by yourself, you could use GPT-5 to help you write the software for a product much more efficiently, help you handle customer support, help you write marketing and communications plans, help you review legal documents. All of these things that would have taken a lot of people and a lot of expertise, and you now have GPT-5 to help you do all of this. That's pretty amazing.
If I could push you to be like a bit more specific and say, I get science, but what do I study? Say I've been studying engineering or commerce or arts or something like that. Is there any specific thing I study in order to use AI to develop something in science?
I think the most important specific thing to study is just getting really good at using the new AI tools. I think learning is valuable for its own sake, and learning to learn is this like meta skill that will serve you throughout life. And whether you're learning, engineering, like computer engineering or biology or any other field like that, if you get good at learning things, you can learn new things quickly. But fluency with the tools is really important. When I was in college or in high school, it seemed to me that the obvious thing to do was learn to program. And I didn't know exactly what I was going to use that for, but there was this new frontier that seemed very high leverage and important to get good at. And right now, learning how to use AI tools is probably the most important specific hard skill to learn. And the difference between people who are really good at it, really AI native and think of everything in terms of those tools and don't, is huge. There's other general skills, learning kind of like to be adaptable and resilient, which I think is something really learnable. That's like quite valuable in a world that's changing so fast. Learning how to figure out what people want is really quite important. Before this, I used to be a startup investor, and people would ask me what the most important thing for startup founders to figure out was. And my predecessor, Paul Graham, had this answer that has always stuck with me for people and to give to founders. And it became the motto for Y Combinator, which is make something people want. And that sounds like such an easy instruction. I have watched so many people try so hard to learn how to figure that out and fail. And then I've watched many people work really hard to learn how to do that and get great at it over a career. So that's something as well. But, in terms of the specifics, like, are you supposed to take the biology class at the physics class? I don't think it matters right now.
And if I were to build on top of that, and when you say learn to adapt and change and learn AI tools faster, is there a path? I'm just looking for a light that somebody could begin walking towards. How does one get better at the AI tools that are available out there?
Well, one great thing to do, GPT-5 is quite good at helping to create small pieces of software very quickly, and much better than any model that I've used. And in the last few weeks, I have surprised myself how much I've used it to create a piece of software to solve some little problem that I have in my life. And, it's been an interesting creative process because I'll ask it for a first draft. I'll start using that. And then I'll say, hey, with this feature, it would be better. Or with this other thing, I'd be able to do something differently. Or, I have started using it and realized that with my workflow, I really needed this. And by putting more and more of the things that I have to do in this kind of a workflow, that's been a very interesting way for me to learn how